So I had a really fun interview with Joe Rogan earlier today, but the bond yield, but bond yields were up strongly going into tomorrow and have stayed there later today. And Tesla was moving up all day long, was ahead of the market all day long. And I think I'm going to take off my Musk mask now and make my hair pretty. I mean, it is Halloween after all. Okay, I couldn't read what I was trying to read. So this morning I said Tesla will be up, probably in the green. The market would be in the green. Got it right for today. Unless there is something completely off the plan, I'm thinking that the market will respond well to a pause tomorrow and a neutral Fed. Now, anything could happen. The Fed, Chairman Powell and his group could do anything, but that's what I'm expecting to happen tomorrow. And stocks are down some this morning, trimming their gains from earlier. And Tesla also trimming a few of its gains, but still above 200. And the 10-year bonds, as I said, opened in the pre-market about where they closed earlier. Now, tomorrow after this, Randy Kirk, by the way, you're going to want to hit notify. You always want to hit notify. You want to hit subscribe. You want to hit like because it helps the algorithm. But I'm going to do an episode tomorrow. I'm going to tally up all the good news and bad news right now about Tesla. I think you're going to like this show. I have it all arranged in my head. I've been thinking about it for days, and this is an important show. I really want to encourage you to watch it. I'm also going to be talking a little bit about a compelling narrative that takes into consideration the fifth biggest economy in the world. Now, see, that's a good teaser, right? What am I talking about? All right, you're not going to want to miss it. Of course, you're going to want to join Patreon. Of course, you're going to want to buy some Cybertruck bottle openers. You know what to do. All the information is down below in the description. So what happened on Joe Rogan? I watched the entire 2.5 hours. And, I did say a couple of weeks ago, I know I keep talking about how I got it right because some of the haters that, leave comments are talking about my misses. Well, okay, I got a big miss today because I said 275. I was only off by $75. So, but I've gotten a lot right. Like on the macro issues. I mean, come on now. Who else 9 months ago and 7 months ago and 5 months ago and 3 months ago was saying no recession, no recession? Who over this entire period has been saying the inflation is going to go down, inflation is going to go down? Who over the last 6 weeks has been saying interest rates are not going to go above 5%? I don't know. Somebody that got all those right. Anyway, earlier, so I said also that Elon's timing right now, that all of this is planned, his going on Rogan, his going on Lex Friedman, the Beast thing the other day, earlier this week, the Beast offered as one of the prize options a Tesla. And now he's on Joe Rogan for 2.5 hours talking about the Cybertruck for the first half hour. And then he's going to be on Lex Friedman sometime, I guess, the next week or so. It's all around the Cybertruck launch. Are you kidding me? And all about the fourth quarter and all about how things are going. Elon is brilliant at this stuff, and it's why they are getting one of the many reasons why they get by without any formal advertising, because this thing with the Beast yesterday, this thing with Joe Rogan today, the one with Lex Friedman, it's worth tens of millions of dollars in advertising. All right. In fact, today, the Joe Rogan show, they were expecting such a crowd. I have no idea what the numbers are, but they had to roll it out by region. It took me an hour before I could even see the show. Other Sawyer Merritt, he says, "Oh, I've got it. What's wrong with you guys?" And everybody else is shooting back to Sawyer and going, "I don't have it. I can't get in." Anyway, it took an hour for me to get in. I don't know how long it took everybody. Maybe around the world, they might have had to wait even longer. Anyway, the stock might have gone up partially due to the huge influence of the Joe Rogan show. But during the show, there was only like another dollar gain. It was kind of already up $4, and then the Joe Rogan thing got up another dollar. Anyway, if you haven't already watched it, here's a spoiler alert. The next 3 minutes or 2 or 3 minutes is going to be about the Joe Rogan show. Here are the important things that came out of the show. Number one, Rogan thinks that the Cybertruck is the coolest car ever. That is not a quote. He just went on and on about how he's just so excited and interested in the Cybertruck. Elon did reveal that the truck weighs roughly 7,000 pounds. He said 6,000 to 7,000 pounds, depending on which model, which variation of it is. He says they're trying to get the 0 to 60 under 3 seconds in beast mode. So I got a text just a few minutes ago from Brian Wong saying, I told you there was going to be a beast mode. So there you go. Now, Brian, you see, he's a futurist who actually has a record that he keeps track of his misses and hits. Anyway, then Joe Rogan and Elon went out into the garage, and they got a crossbow, a very sophisticated crossbow, and they took a shot at the Cybertruck, and Joe was impressed again because it broke the arrow and it blunted the tip and it left a teeny scratch on the car. So that was good. They did point out, by the way, if you're going to take this into a war zone, unless you get special glass for the windows, the glass is not bulletproof. Okay. I don't know if it's arrow proof, but I can tell you it's not bulletproof. All right. He said it will have the best clear height of any vehicle for off-roading, and it doesn't have any of that stuff that's on the undercarriage that normally is showing and that can get busted because why? You've got just this flat panel underneath where the batteries are. Rogan also said, I thought this was very nice of him. He says that Elon did a huge service to humanity by purchasing Twitter. And then the final exciting thing from the rest of the show was that they had a long conversation about the fight between he and Zuckerberg. And he said that basically Zuck chickened out and that he's ready to go anytime with no training. And so if you want to see the details, he basically just said, look, I'm a half again his size. It makes a big difference in this kind of fighting. And so I'm not really worried about it. So let's go. That's enough about Joe Rogan. That was all that was really interesting in the Joe Rogan show. Because at least if you follow Elon like I do, I mean, the rest of it was stuff I've heard before. So then here's one. This was not a headline. This was buried in an article. You don't see this headline anywhere. I read how much news every single day? I've not seen this headline anywhere. Okay. While all this bad news about EVs, all this bad news about the major car companies, everything that you're hearing, this is I could only find it one time in Barron's, buried. Are you ready? On Tuesday, Stellantis reported a 37% year-over-year jump in their EV sales in the third quarter and reiterated its goal to have 40% of all of its sales globally coming from battery electric vehicles. Why? How come that wasn't a headline? That sounds like a pretty good result, but that's not what the narrative is right now in the regular media. The narrative is, there's horrible things happening with the EV market and what's going on, and is it a pause? Or anyway, I've been meaning to mention this for a couple of days, but Gene Munster beat it to me on X today. You can find him at Munster_Gene, Gene, that kind of Gene. And he says, it's going to take a couple of months to sort this out. My guess is that Tesla, he's talking about the strike and its impact on Tesla as a operating company. And he says his guess is that Tesla employees will vote down any attempt to get them to join the UAW, and that Tesla will give them a pay raise, most likely around 20% over the 4 years compared to the big three that's giving the 25% bump. I think that that's way too simplistic. I think that if you want to put Elon up against this Irish guy from Chicago in this particular kind of a fight, I think Elon wins it. I don't necessarily think it'll just be something as simple as Tesla employees getting a 20% bump. I do think that Tesla has to be concerned about, managing employee, folks going to a big three company in order to get those higher rates. But there's so much more involved in terms of the mission, in terms of going to Tesla University, which sets you up for great jobs in the future, in terms of the stock options that you get. I mean, so many other things to think about. But I'll let Elon worry about that one. I just thought it was worth talking about that there will be a reaction. Tesla does have to do something in order to deal with this effort that's going to happen by the United Auto Workers to get Fremont to be unionized. Now we have Toyota Motors on Tuesday. This is a shocker. They are going to invest an additional $8 billion and add 3,000 jobs at its battery manufacturing plan, P-L-A-N, not plant, its manufacturing plan in North Carolina to support electric vehicles. Earlier, just 5 months ago, the world's biggest car maker announced an ambitious plan to launch commercial solid-state batteries as soon as 2027, signaling a major shift following years of criticism that the global giant had failed to fully adopt EV technology and ceded grounds to newer rivals like Tesla. According to Toyota, the new investment will add capacity to support battery electric vehicles and plug-in hybrid electric vehicles. Oh boy, it will further add 8 BEV/PHEV battery production lines to its North Carolina plant for a total of 10 battery lines on the plant that they haven't even started yet. And the original plan was that they were going to spend $5 billion. Now they're going to spend $13.9. Toyota expects to increase production in a phased manner, et cetera, going to a total production of 30 gigawatt hours. Okay, now, let this sink in. They are going to spend $13.9 billion to get to 30 gigawatt hours. What is Austin going to be doing? Probably on a total investment of $2 billion. They're going to be doing 100 gigawatt hours on an investment of $2 billion, and Toyota is going to spend $13 billion to get up to 30 gigawatt hours, 30% of that total. And Tesla is already planning for another 100 gigawatt hours in Austin, plus 500 gigawatt hours in Reno, and 100 gigawatt hours in Berlin, and who knows how many in Shanghai. And I don't get it. And 5,000 jobs to get 30 gigawatt hours. 5,000 jobs. I can't understand why their stock didn't just plummet on this news. Anyway, I can't figure it out. You tell me. Let me know in the comments below. Does that make any sense at all to you? Okay. You know that I'm very interested in truck tonnage. So finally, we have the September report. After hitting a bottom in April, tonnage increased in 3 of the previous 4 months, gaining a total of 2.2, but then in September, it dropped. However, the freight market remains in flux. The index contracted by only 1.1% in September, erasing half of the gains from the previous 3 months. Additionally, the year-over-year decrease was the largest drop since November, when hit a previous cycle high last November. It's likely that a bottom has been hit. I've heard that from a couple of different places so far, but I don't know if they're going to get out of this until after Christmas, because nobody's talking about a big Christmas. So not clear, but right now that would tend to say flat. The overall economy being flat going forward based on trucking. Okay, just based on trucking. So what else do we know? Well, from the NASDAQ, the Chicago business activity unexpectedly contracted at a slightly faster rate in the month of October. Indicators said that their barometer came down to 44%, not 44%, a score of 44 in October from 44.1. So not a major drop. Any reading below 50 indicating a contractions. Economists had expected the index to inch up to 45, so pretty much in line with what they were expecting. The unexpected dip by the business barometer came as the production index tumbled to 46.5 from 51. So production was down substantially. That's like 20%. Returning to contraction territory after 2 months of growth. Meanwhile, the new orders jumped 4.2% in October after plunging by 17.6 points in September. So all of this now makes sense. If your orders were dropping last month, then you would have less production this month. But now your orders are up. That would suggest you're going to have more production in the future. The employment index also shot up to 50.2 in October from 44.5 in September. So people are starting to put people to work because of because the increase in orders. Anyway, interesting. We'll see how all this plays out. Meanwhile, in Texas, they saw things a little differently. Growth in Texas factory activity continued in October, according to business executives responding to the Texas manufacturing outlook. That production index, a key measure, said that after 4 months in negative, I'm sorry, let me just read it out. They posted a second positive reading after 4 months in negative territory. Other measures of manufacturing activity showed mixed signals this month. New orders remained negative and slipped 4 points to 8.8. So that would tell me if I'm a manufacturer, next month is not going to be great. Capacity utilization index posted a second consecutive positive reading, coming in at 5.4. Shipments index remained near flatline. Perceptions of broader business conditions continue to worsen in October. General business activity and company outlook indexes remain largely unchanged at 19.2 and 17.1 respectively, spending a year and a half in negative territory. The outlook uncertainty index remained elevated but retreated from 27 to 20. Labor market measures suggested slower employment growth, shorter work weeks. So anyway, there you got it. You got Chicago, you got Texas, you've got the the trucking industry. Everybody's looking like, at least on the manufacturing side, things are pretty much flat. And that's certainly what I would expect, in particular, because nobody's building any homes. And that's a big percentage of the overall economy. And without home building, that's going to cut into trucks. It's going to cut into manufacturing, et cetera. Speaking of homes, home prices finished the summer at another record high as home affordability tanks to historical lows. Well, again, I hate to keep saying this because I do get some things right. I said prices would go up all summer, regardless of these interest rates. I'm now telling you that they will go down in October, November, December, January, February, maybe starting back up in March or April, not maybe, almost undoubtedly starting in March or April. The S&P CoreLogic Case-Shiller National, boy, that's a long name, increased 0.9 in August, month over month, and 2.6% annually, seasonally adjusted. The index has risen for 7 months. What, 7 months? Oh, spring and summer, really? The index tracking existing home prices in the 20 largest cities also gained 1% in August from July, exceeding the Bloomberg consensus of 0.8. August home prices increase demonstrate the underlying demand for houses is still outpacing supply, even as it becomes more expensive. Okay, why? Why? Please. Okay, come on. In unison. Can we all say it? No inventory. Okay. You read the whole article, this whole article. No mention, not one mention of the fact that it's not just historically low, it's off the charts historically low. There is no inventory. Prices, as I just said, will drop next spring. They'll pick up again because why? No inventory. All right. And remember, every time I mention mortgages, I have to mention Bill Rayman. If you are anybody you know is even slightly interested in buying a house in the next 9 months, this is the time right now immediately to call a mortgage lender, and the guy to call is Bill Rayman. His information is down below. Okay, Market Watch says consumer confidence fell to a 5-month low of 102.6 in October amid worries about inflation, rising interest rates, and the fighting between Israel and Hamas. Now, 102.6 is a positive reading. Anything above 100 is positive, or 100 is kind of the average over time. The closely followed index slipped from a revised 104.3 in September, according to the Conference Board. Economists had expected 100, so it easily beat that. Looking ahead, according to the article, consumers continue to be preoccupied. I just said that. Okay, let me go through. Rising prices in general, grocery and gasoline prices in particular, And also they're concerned about the political situation, along with higher interest rates. Worries about the war and conflicts also rose, obviously. Okay. Tesla, this is according to Reuters, on Tuesday won the first trial over allegations. This is not the first trial. It's Reuters, come on, get it right. They just had one 2 months ago. They won. Tesla on Tuesday won the first U.S. trial over allegations that the autopilot driver assistant feature led to a death, a major victory for the automaker as it faces several other similar lawsuits across the country, each of which will be decided on their own merits. This case in California was filed by two passengers accusing that the autopilot was defective when they sold the car. Tesla argued human error. The 12-member jury announced they found the vehicle did not have a manufacturing defect. The jury came on the fourth day, and the vote was 9-3. All right, where are the pre-markets numbers at this point? Let's look and see where we are. Okay, we have bonds still sitting exactly where they were when we started the show at 4.927. So not really very close to 5. But they are elevated going into tomorrow, hedging, I guess, against a surprise. Oil prices are at 81.35. I love it. That's super good. Pretty much where they closed, maybe up 30 cents. Gold has slipped back down. That's interesting that gold has slipped back down. The dollar is very strong, so that could be part of it. That could also be affecting oil, of course. And then we have crypto popping back up. Don't know why. I'm sorry, Bitcoin popping back up. And then we have the pre-market, again, almost exactly where it was when we started 20 minutes ago or so. The NASDAQ future up 0.25%, as is the S&P, and the Dow up 0.2. Let's take a look at where Tesla is ending the after hours here. As it's almost 5 o'clock in California, it is ending that at down 0.19, about the same as the indexes are. So it's following the indexes, although not at a multiple. So that's good news. Still over 200 at $200.45. All right. So what are you going to do? You're going to hit like if you didn't already do that. You got to remember to do that. Hit subscribe if you haven't done it already, and then hit notify, because you want to be reminded you want to get up in the morning and see the show at 7:10 California time. You want to then for sure see my midday show tomorrow. It is going to be a knockout. It is going to be so informative and so useful. I just can't encourage you enough. And of course, tomorrow night, you're going to be notified to what? See this show again, because what are we going to be talking about? We're going to be talking about Powell, and we're going to be talking about the Fed, and we're going to be talking about the ADP numbers, and we're going to be talking about, there's even more. The Federal Reserve will also be setting some, or the Treasury will be setting some bond decisions tomorrow, like which bonds are they going to be selling the most of, and at what levels at the next few months. Lots of stuff coming tomorrow. You don't want to miss tomorrow night's show. It's going to be a knockout. Okay, anyway, yeah, have you bought your Cybertruck yet? I mean, this one, $25. It's all it is. You really want one of these? It's only $25. It's time to step up and get your Cybertruck. You just go to paypal.me/Randy Kirk, all in lowercase letters. That's paypal.me/Randy Kirk in lowercase letters for $25. If you want to get more than one, so you can give one to your brother or your sister-in-law or whoever else is that's really interested in Tesla and maybe has an order in for a Cybertruck. 2 of them are $45 and 3 of them are $65. Maybe I've made it too complicated. Not for this crowd. Come on, you guys are smart. You guys are interested in all these stats and things. All right. I'm going to put a card up here. If anybody's still left watching the show, I'm putting a card up here because Brian and I had a great conversation earlier today talking about all the different makers. And we talked about what the real true value of Tesla is right now, if you really, really get down to it in different ways of looking at it. I thought it was a really good conversation with Brian. I'll put the card up right here. And other than that, it has been great talking to you today.